In upcoming Emmerdale scenes, the focus is very much centered around Cain Dingle's, played by Jeff Hordley, cancer diagnosis, which he has been trying to keep under wraps from his loved ones as he battles with the disease. Here, express.co.uk can share a series of spoilers for next week's episodes of the beloved ITV soap. .in upcoming scenes. A guilty Cain tells Sarah Sugden, Katie Hill, how Joe Tate, Ned Porteous, has got him snookered with the threat of prison. So Sarah tells him the time has come for him to tell his partner, Moira Barton, Natalie J. Robb, the truth before matters completely unravel. Later at the Woolpack, the blood in the toilet following a painful urination leaves Cain petrified for his future. Soon, Cain visits Moira behind bars, and her world falls apart after he tells her his cancer is getting worse. Moira struggles to hear that he's had this diagnosis for a month and urges him to tell his son and the wider Dingle family. But will he? Meanwhile, Sarah's relationship is suffering due to the secrets she is hiding as she has been trying to conceal Cain's diagnosis from family members. When Belle Dingle, Eden Taylor Draper, asks what the problem is, Sarah cannot face the truth. Rona Goskirk, Zoe Henry, and her back-from-the-dead ex-Graham Foster, Andrew Scarborough, experience a charged moment when he tells her he knows about Cain's cancer. Graham gives Rona an ultimatum to meet him at midday, or he will keep his distance forever in his attempt to relight their flame. He nervously waits for Rona on the footbridge, determined to take this chance to speak his truth. Laurel Thomas, Charlotte Bellamy, confides in Nicola King, Nicola Wheeler, about her son Arthur Thomas, Alfie Clark. The village of Emmerdale had always been a place where secrets rarely stayed buried for long. Gossip travelled faster than the wind through the Yorkshire hills, and the residents were accustomed to drama unfolding behind every cottage door. But this time, the secret lurking beneath the surface was darker than most. At the centre of it all was Cain Dingle, a man known for his strength, stubbornness, and refusal to show weakness. Yet now, he was facing the one thing he couldn't fight with fists or threats: cancer. And the worst part? Almost nobody knew. Cain's confession to Sarah. The evening sky hung low over the village when Cain finally broke his silence. He stood near the edge of the garage yard, his arms folded tightly, as if he were holding himself together. Across from him stood Sarah Sugden, watching him with concern etched into her face. "Something's wrong with you," Sarah said quietly. "You've been off for weeks." Cain sighed, rubbing his face with tired hands. "You don't need to worry about it." "Yeah, I do," she replied firmly. "Because when you start acting like this, it usually means trouble." For a moment, Cain looked ready to walk away. But something in Sarah's determined expression stopped him. Instead, he spoke. "Joe Tate's got me snookered," he muttered. Sarah frowned. "Snookered how?" Cain hesitated before answering. "Prison." The word hung heavily in the air. Sarah's eyes widened. "What have you done now?" "It's not what I've done. It's what he's threatening," Cain said bitterly. He then revealed the truth about Joe Tate, explaining how the wealthy manipulator had evidence that could send him behind bars. Sarah shook her head in disbelief. "You're being blackmailed?" "Something like that." She stared at him for a moment, before saying something that caught him off guard. "You need to tell Moira Barton." Cain immediately stiffened. "No. Cain. No one needs to know." Sarah folded her arms. "You're wrong." Cain looked away, his jaw tightening. "Because this isn't just about Joe Tate," she continued. "Is it?" Cain didn't answer, but his silence said everything. Terror at the Woolpack. Later that night, Cain found himself sitting alone in the bathroom of the Woolpack. He had been trying to ignore the pain all day, but now it had become unbearable. His breathing was uneven as he leaned against the sink. When he finally forced himself to use the toilet, the pain shot through him like lightning. Then he saw it. Blood. Bright red against the white porcelain. Cain stared at it in horror. For a moment, the hardened Dingle patriarch felt something he rarely allowed himself to feel. Fear. Not the kind he could fight. The kind that crept into your bones and whispered that your time might be running out. He gripped the sink tightly, trying to steady himself. But the truth was unavoidable now. His condition was getting worse. Moira learns the truth. The following morning, Cain made a decision he had been avoiding for weeks. He went to see Moira. Moira was currently behind bars, and visiting her felt like entering another world entirely. The sterile prison visiting room couldn't have been further from the rolling fields she once worked. When Moira walked into the room, she smiled faintly. "About time you came to see me." But the smile faded when she saw Cain's expression. "What's wrong?" Cain sat down heavily across from her. "I should have told you sooner." Moira frowned. "Told me what?" He struggled to find the words. For a man who had spent his life commanding rooms with his presence, speaking now felt impossible. Finally, he said it. "I've got cancer." Moira's face went pale. "What?" "I found out about a month ago." The words seemed to echo in the room. Moira stared at him in disbelief. "A month?" she whispered. "You've known for a month and you didn't tell me?" Cain looked down. "I didn't want to worry you." Moira's voice trembled. "Cain, I'm already worried. I'm sitting in prison while my husband is battling cancer." Tears filled her eyes as she reached across the table. "How bad is it?" Cain hesitated. "It's getting worse." The words shattered whatever hope Moira had been holding on to. Her world collapsed in that moment. "You have to tell the family," she insisted. "The Dingles deserve to know." Cain shook his head. "No. Cain. I'm not having everyone looking at me like I'm already dead." Moira's voice hardened. "You're not dead. But you might be if you keep pretending nothing's wrong." Sarah's struggle with secrets. Meanwhile, Sarah was feeling the pressure of Cain's secret weighing heavily on her shoulders. She sat in the living room, staring blankly at her phone. Every message from family members felt like a reminder of the truth she was hiding. Her relationship was also suffering. Her partner had noticed she was distant and distracted, and arguments had become more frequent. But the hardest moment came when Belle Dingle approached her outside the cafe. "All right?" Belle asked. Sarah forced a smile. "Yeah." Belle didn't look convinced. "You've been acting weird lately. What's going on?" Sarah's throat tightened. She wanted to tell her. She wanted to blurt out the truth and finally share the burden. But Cain's voice echoed in her mind. "No one needs to know." So she shook her head. "Nothing." Belle sighed. "You know you can talk to me." Sarah nodded, but she couldn't bring herself to speak. Rona and Graham's unexpected reunion. Across the village, another complicated story was unfolding. Rona Goskirk was still struggling to process the shocking return of her supposedly dead ex. Graham Forster, the man she thought she had lost forever, was standing in front of her again, bringing with him a whirlwind of unresolved emotions. They met near the village path, tension crackling between them. "I know about Cain," Graham said quietly. Rona's eyes widened. "How?" "Word gets around." She folded her arms defensively. "You shouldn't be here." Graham sighed. "I came back for a reason." "And what's that?" "You." Rona shook her head in disbelief. "You don't just disappear for years and then walk back into my life like nothing happened." Graham looked at her seriously. "Meet me at the footbridge tomorrow at midday." Rona frowned. "Why?" "Because if you don't," he said softly, "I'll walk away for good." The waiting game. The next day, Graham stood alone on the old footbridge. The wind rustled through the trees as he checked his watch. 11:58. 11:59. No sign of Rona. His heart sank. Maybe this had been a mistake. Maybe she had already moved on. Just as he was about to leave, footsteps approached. Rona appeared at the end of the bridge. Graham's breath caught. "You came," he said. Rona looked nervous. "Don't read too much into it." But despite her words, the air between them was charged with emotion. Laurel's worries. Elsewhere, Laurel Thomas sat in the cafe with Nicola King, looking deeply troubled. "It's Arthur," Laurel admitted. Her son, Arthur Thomas, had been acting differently lately. "He's shutting everyone out," Laurel explained. Nicola listened carefully. "That's teenagers for you." But Laurel shook her head. "No, this feels bigger than that." She feared something was seriously wrong, but she didn't yet know what. A secret on the verge of explosion. Back at the garage, Cain leaned against the car he had been pretending to fix. The pain was growing worse every day. He knew Moira was right. The family deserved to know. But admitting the truth meant admitting something he had never allowed himself to accept. That he might not win this fight. Across the village, Sarah sat alone, fighting back tears. At the footbridge, Rona and Graham faced a future neither of them fully understood. And in the cafe, Laurel worried about her son. In Emmerdale, secrets never stayed hidden forever. The only question was, when the truth finally came out, who would be left standing?